I'm 21. I've raised my daughter on my own for 5 years, and I thought I knew exactly what my life looked like. Every morning, I got up before the sun, made breakfast for Lily, packed her school bag, and tried to make it to my classes on time. Some days I barely had enough sleep. Some days I skipped meals. And yet, every sacrifice felt worth it when I saw her smile. I never imagined that all of it, every late night, every tear shed in silence, could be taken from me in a single moment. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. That moment came on an ordinary Wednesday. Lily and I walked into the bank to pay her school tuition. The place smelled faintly of coffee and polished floors. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But that ordinary day would become one I'd never forget. I handed my ID to the teller and she started typing. She typed slowly, deliberately. Then she paused. Long enough that my heart sank before I even realized why. She looked up at me with wide eyes and said something that I can still hear echoing in my head. "Ma'am, you're not listed as guardian." I froze. My mind tried to process the words and failed. Not listed as guardian? What did she mean? I've been the one raising Lily since she was born. I've been the one wiping her tears, teaching her words, holding her when nightmares woke her in the middle of the night. How could I not be her legal guardian? The teller turned her screen toward me. And there it was. A name I didn't expect. A name I knew. My sister's name. Rachel. I wanted to laugh, or scream, or cry, maybe all three at once. How had this happened without me knowing? And, more importantly, why? I stared at the screen and at Lily, who was holding my hand, oblivious to the storm about to hit our lives. I had no idea how deep this betrayal ran, or what my sister had done to take my place. And in that moment, I knew my life was about to change. I called Rachel. No answer. My hands were shaking, my chest tight, and I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. I couldn't breathe. My fingers were still frozen over my phone, staring at Rachel's name on the teller's screen like it was some kind of cruel joke. How could this be real? I've been Lily's mom every single day of her life. I've packed her lunches, stayed up all night when she was sick, and fought through every challenge of being a single parent at 21. And somehow, my sister had slipped in and replaced me without warning. The bank felt smaller somehow, as if the walls were closing in. I forced myself to ask the teller, my voice trembling, "Are you sure this is correct? Could it be a mistake?" She shook her head. No mistake. My stomach dropped like I'd fallen down a long, dark elevator shaft. I kept thinking back to the last few months. Rachel had been helpful, she'd say. Babysitting when I worked double shifts, offering to help with Lily's school fees. At the time, I felt grateful, even relieved. I never imagined those small gestures were building towards something like this, a full-scale legal takeover. My own sister, the person I trusted most, had quietly maneuvered herself into my child's life on paper without ever telling me. I needed to understand how it had happened. I rushed home after the bank, pacing my tiny apartment with Lily at my heels, asking questions I already knew the answers to. How long had this been in the works? How could Rachel convince anyone that I wasn't capable of raising my daughter? The thought made my blood boil. I called my mom. No answer. I called my dad. No answer. Each ring felt heavier than the last. And all the while, Lily tugged at my sleeve, asking why I was upset. I forced a smile and hugged her tightly, whispering that everything was okay, though my heart was screaming the opposite. Then I remembered the pile of legal papers Rachel had once mentioned casually, the ones she said were just for Lily's daycare. Something told me they weren't. I realized I had to see them, the official court documents, the ones that would explain exactly how she had done this. But as I sat down to start digging, my phone buzzed. A notification from my email. And when I opened it, I saw a message that made my hands go ice cold. It wasn't from Rachel. It was from the court. What it said would make me question everything I thought I knew about my sister and about Lily's future. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to see Rachel. I had to look her in the eyes and demand answers. I grabbed my keys, Lily clinging to my hand, and drove to her apartment. My mind raced with a million thoughts. Would she deny it? Would she act like it was all a joke? Or worse, would she act like she had done nothing wrong at all? I knocked on the door. It swung open before I could ring again. There she was, Rachel, 25, calm, smiling in a way that made my skin crawl. She looked like she had all the time in the world, like this was just another Tuesday, and I was the one who didn't belong. "Emma," she said sweetly, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Hey, everything okay?" I forced my voice out, trembling but sharp. "No. Nothing is okay." "Why, Rachel? Why did you do this?" She tilted her head, as if considering how much to reveal. "I did it for Lily," she said casually, as though the truth was obvious. "I thought you weren't giving her what she needed." My blood ran cold. Giving her what she needed? I've been Lily's mother every day of her life. I've worked 3 jobs, sacrificed sleep, food, and my social life. And now my own sister had the audacity to claim I wasn't enough? I felt anger and disbelief collide in my chest. "How could you just take my daughter's guardianship without even telling me?" I yelled, gripping Lily's hand tighter, trying not to let her sense the tension, trying not to cry in front of her. Rachel just smiled again, calm, almost amused. "I didn't want to fight. I thought this was better for everyone." Better? I couldn't breathe. Better for whom? Certainly not for me, certainly not for Lily. I remembered the legal email, the official court documents. They were waiting at home, proof of every secret step Rachel had taken. And I knew, if I looked closely, I would see the extent of her manipulation. My mind raced. Had she talked to social services? Lawyers? My parents? How far had she gone to replace me? Every friendly gesture she had ever made now seemed like a calculated move, part of a plan I hadn't even imagined. I glanced at Lily, who was staring curiously at Rachel, oblivious to the storm swirling around us. My heart ached. This was no longer just about legal papers. This was about control, about betrayal, about my daughter. I knew I had to see the court documents. I had to understand exactly what Rachel had done and how she had done it. But when I got home and opened the envelope from the court, what I found inside made my stomach twist in ways I never thought possible. I tore open the envelope from the court, my hands shaking. The papers inside were crisp, official, and terrifying. There it was in black and white, Rachel's name listed as the primary legal guardian of Lily. Every form, every signature, every stamp, proof that my sister had legally replaced me. I felt like I was watching my life being erased. The justification Rachel had written made my blood boil. She claimed I was unable to provide adequate care for Lily. Unable. Me, the woman who had changed her diapers, taught her to walk, stayed awake through every nightmare. It was a lie. A cruel, calculated lie. I scrolled through the attached documents and saw references to social services visits, vague concerns about my work schedule, even an unsigned note from my parents stating they were supportive of the change. I couldn't believe it. Had Rachel manipulated everyone around me? Was this some coordinated plan to take my daughter? I sank to the floor, Lily crawling into my lap, sensing my fear. I tried to explain as best as I could, but she didn't fully understand. She just hugged me tightly, asking, "Mommy, why is Andy Ratch on the papers?" My heart cracked. How could I protect her from this betrayal while also fighting to reclaim her life? I spent hours reading, piecing together the timeline. Rachel had filed the petition months ago, quietly, strategically. She had called it a temporary guardianship, but the court had approved it as primary. Every phone call, every favor she had offered over the past year suddenly made sense. She hadn't been helping. She had been maneuvering. Anger, fear, and disbelief collided inside me. I felt trapped in a nightmare I didn't wake up from. I couldn't lose Lily, not to the court, not to my own sister. And yet, the more I read, the more I realized I might not have the financial or legal resources to fight her. But I knew one thing: I couldn't let her win without a battle. I had to protect Lily no matter what it took. I would fight lawyers, court hearings, even family pressures. I would do whatever it took to reclaim my daughter. And then I noticed something odd. hidden in the fine print of the documents, a clause Rachel hadn't mentioned anywhere, something that could change the entire situation if I acted fast. I stared at it, heart pounding. Could this be my chance? Or was it just another trap my sister had set? What I decided next would determine Lily's future, and it was a decision I wasn't sure I was ready to make. I took a deep breath, staring at the clause hidden in Rachel's court documents. It was small, buried in legal jargon, but it was my opening. My chance to reclaim my daughter without losing everything to her calculated plan. I had fought for Lily every single day of her life, and I wasn't about to stop now. The next few weeks were a blur. Lawyers, meetings, calls to social workers, I felt like I was running on adrenaline alone. Each step forward was met with tension, every email from Rachel a subtle reminder that she wasn't going down without a fight. And yet, with each document I filed, each motion I submitted, I felt a growing sense of hope. Hope that justice, or at least fairness, could still be on my side. The day I finally returned to court, Lily in my arms, I felt a strange mix of fear and determination. My parents watched from the back, uncertain, guilty in ways they couldn't yet admit. Rachel sat across the room, composed as ever, the hint of a smirk on her face like she already expected to win. When the judge reviewed the documents, there was a moment of silence that felt like hours. And then, slowly, the ruling came. Partial guardianship restored to me. I would make the day-to-day decisions for Lily. Rachel would have limited visitation rights, nothing more. It wasn't a total victory, but it was mine. My daughter was still mine. I walked out of that courtroom holding Lily tighter than I ever had, tears streaming down my face. The betrayal had cut deeper than anything I had imagined, but I had fought back. I had stood my ground. And most importantly, I had protected the child I loved more than anything in the world. Looking back, I realized something important. Betrayal can come from the people we trust most. Family can hurt in ways we don't anticipate. But the strength to fight for what truly matters lies in the bonds we've nurtured, in the love that cannot be replaced or erased. I glanced at Lily, playing quietly in the corner, unaware of the storm that had raged around her. I whispered to her, "No one can take you from me, not ever." And I meant it. If you've ever faced betrayal or felt powerless against someone close, remember this: you can fight. You can reclaim what is yours. And sometimes, the darkest moments reveal the deepest strength we never knew we had.